Okay, it's 9 o'clock. Let's call this meeting over, open with a moment of silence. Thank you. First item of business is to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support. Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approve the minutes of May 16 and 24.
Make a motion to approve.
Support. Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes, May 16 and May 24. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approve May bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have approved the use of restrooms for Rolling Oldies. Letter came from John Reichen. I talked to his wife the other day and told him that we would probably do it this year since we're doing the other ones, and then next year they would have to find, we're not doing it next year. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah.
That's what we had said before.
Okay. So, give me a motion to approve the use.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made and seconded to approve the use of the restrooms for Rolling Oldies on July 30. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Approve the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center audit. They're accepted, I guess.
Motion to accept CIJDC FY 15-16 audit.
Support.
Motion made and seconded to accept the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention fiscal year 15-16 audit. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried. Approve computer maintenance agreements with Solutions.
I think I emailed these to you and Darren has looked them over. They are what Solutions said they would be for the coming year, so we recommend that they be approved.
Motion to approve computer maintenance agreements with Solutions.
Support.
Motion made and seconded to approve the computer maintenance agreements with Solutions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And we have a request from Veterans Affairs to reappoint Ted Smith to that commission. Anybody want to speak about that, or you want to?
Jennifer and I are here to support Ted. In the past years, he's done a superb job at it. And, I highly recommend that you reappoint him.
Okay.
Move to reappoint Ted Smith to the Veterans Affairs Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve Ted Smith to Veterans Affairs Commission. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Judy Funk. You're early, is that all right?
Thank you.
Morning.
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 Thank you for letting me come to walk through your 16-17 renewal with Heartland. So as you can see there on the cover page, the Heartland Board approved premium credits for the 16-17 year again. Haskell County share of that is $40,237. So that comes off the bottom line of your premium. And then the board also approved premium credits for our special acceptances. Those are our smaller entities. That would be solid waste and the Stephen Memorial Animal Shelter. And that totals $3,621. And again, that comes right off the bottom of the line of their premium. And then we did receive a notice of termination for 911. We have discussed coverage issues with Sue and with Jamie on that. So just so you know, they didn't renew with Heartland. And we did offer continuation coverage, and I haven't heard a response back on that. So we won't be covering them as of July 1st. Is there any questions about that? Okay. That next page, you've seen this all before. This is just a summary of what the premiums are doing from last year to this year and gives you a comparison of your exposures. It's been since 2005, I believe, that Heartland has increased any rates. So your rates are the same, it's just that your exposures have changed. And as far as the workers' compensation, those rates are based on state rates, so those will change from year to year. So on the property insurance, you're down not quite 7%, and the biggest reason there is taking the care facility off of the schedule. Your inland marine is pretty flat, that's your equipment. Boiler and machinery is down, again, that's based on your property values, and with the deletion of the property, or the care facility, that's why that's down. Airs and emissions, that's based upon your employee head count. We've got the same head count reported last year as this year. We don't use temporary employees or summer employees, it's just whatever your payroll was when Sue and Jody pulled that, probably the end of February, beginning of March. Your township coverages remain the same. That is the general liability and airs and emissions for the township folks. It doesn't have any property coverage in there. So if we have an issue at one of the cemeteries, if it's a property issue, that's not covered, but the liability speaks to that. Law enforcement is the same. You've got the same amount of law enforcement as you did last year. Last year we had 29 3/4. This year's 29 3/4. And if you remember last year, we changed how we count your body, so to speak, in law enforcement. If they work under 30 hours, if the reserves work under 30 hours in a month, we consider them a quarter body. If the reserves work over 30 hours in a month, we consider them a half. So that's how we get the quarter and 3/4. Next up is your general liability, and that's up about 6%. Your exposures are up, or your expenditures are up, what that's based on. And in your packet is a sheet that looks like this. It might be right behind all the schedules, but just kind of want to walk through that with you so you understand where that comes from. I should have put it in a different color, it would have been easier to find it. It's right there. So what we do is we take the gross budget that we get from Sue's department, and you can see you're up over last year. And then we deduct your capital improvements, any expenditures for independent contractors, because they would have their own coverage, and then for welfare benefits. And then at the bottom, you can see we take out the entire sheriff's budget, because his exposures are based upon his number of employees. We take out the streets and roads budget, because that exposure is based upon the number of miles. And then we also take out mental health. That's largely because of the regionalization there of mental health. So those are taken out of your budget so that there isn't any premium attributable to that, because those are separate exposures. So when we get to the middle there where it says 3 net operating expenditures, you can see that you're up about 600,000. So any questions about that? Anything you see there? We take out any debt service, we take out any pass-through funds like FEMA money. I think Sue and Jody do a good job of getting all those numbers correct for us. So if you do, as you look at that, if you see any issues with it, let us know, because we won't be invoicing until June 30th, and as usual, if we have any property or auto changes between now and the 30th, then that will be reflected on your bill. So if we go back to our comparison then, your auto liability is pretty flat, and your auto physical damage is up just a little bit, and that has to do with just, you may have gotten rid of some cars that were more expensive than you had on last year. Your crime is the same, and keep in mind this crime is not employee fidelity. This would be if someone came in and stole cash, someone from the outside came in and stole cash. You purchase your crime and your public official bonds through Gallagher. So this is separate from that. Workers' compensation is down about 6%, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a second. Your payrolls are up a little bit, but your mod factor went from a 0.91 last year to a 0.85. That's a great direction to go, and we'll talk about your mod factor in a minute, and you'll see that, knock on wood, if we stay about where we are, we should see that mod factor come down again next year. Your premium for additional limits, that changes every year. A couple years ago, you increased your limit from 6 million to 7 million. And so that's based on your number of autos, and it's based on your expenditures, so that's why that's up just a little bit. Special vehicle equipment, that's a coverage that was added a few years ago, and that covers the computers, all the technology in the deputies and sheriff's car at a replacement value rather than actual cash value. So if somebody wrecks one of those cars and all that technology is ruined, then it's replaced as actual cash value, so it's got better coverage there for you. And we've had one claim on that so far. I think we had a cell phone that was ruined or something, and we covered it under that. And then your cyber liability, that's down just a little bit. The cyber liability is a coverage we added in November of 2013. The pool pays half of the premium, and then special acceptances are billed, $5,000 of that is allocated out to special acceptances, and then the county split the rest, and it's based on your number of employees. 50% is based on your number of employees, the other 50% is flat. So that's how that's allocated out. But that's come down a little bit since we first placed the coverage, because the overall coverage is probably about $25,000 less than we originally placed it. So if we look at the total there, your total renewal, you're down about 1.5%, so you're down from almost 418 down to almost 412. Do you have any questions about that? Now attached to that is an allocation for the premium credit of the $40,237. Some counties use this, some counties don't. Some counties allocate premiums out to their departments, and some of them don't. So that's why that's allocated that way, so you can see what the net premium is. The next things that are attached are your property coverage, your inland marine, and your auto schedules. So those give you an idea of what you've got as far as your fixed assets go. I think that Sue and her people do a great job of working with Jennifer and Gallagher to keep these in order. As you can see, you've got 3 pretty good sized ones. Now we multiply that times the other counties and special acceptances. It's a big job for Gallagher and the folks in the counties to keep these up to date. So again, don't, take some time at some point in time to look at your building values. We want to make sure we're not falling behind in your values. You do have a margin clause, which means you've got another 25% in addition to what you have on your schedules. That's kind of sleep insurance, so we don't want you to rely on that too much so that your property is undervalued. Any questions about that so far? And then I've also given you a summary that Gallagher put together on your cyber liability coverage. It's the one with all the black lines on it. That just lets you know how that coverage works. And just so you know, this is fully insured through Indian Harbor. And so if we would have a claim on this, Heartland and Gallagher would be your advocates on it, but the claim would be paid through Indian Harbor rather than through Creative Risk Solutions, who pays our claims now. And then let's spend just a few minutes on your workers' compensation. The next sheet there looks like this. This sheet just gives you the summary of what's going on with your workers' compensation. So we have your class codes there and your description, and then your estimated payroll, and then the rates there are the ones that we get from the state of Iowa. So you would divide your payroll by 100, multiply it times the rate, and that is how we come up with your standard premium of just about $212. And then we apply your mod factor to that. Again, we'll go through that calculation in a second. That $212 becomes not quite $180. And then when we run the premium discounts that come through Heartland for that, what started out at $212 comes down to $126,416. So that's a pretty good difference between your standard premium and actually what you'll be billed on that. And this is audited. We, at the end of every year, will audit the prior year. So in July, we'll start on the audit of the 15-16. If we've overestimated your payrolls, you'll get a check back. If we've underestimated, then we'll send you a bill. But usually you guys are pretty close on that. And then your last handout there is your mod factor analysis. Now what this is a software program called ModMaster that I purchased, and it's meant to mirror the NCCI. Those are the folks that calculate people's mod factors that are fully insured. And so what we're using is the audited payrolls from 12-13, 13-14, and 14-15. There won't be anything having to do with 15-16 in here yet because we haven't finished that year, nor are the payrolls audited. So we've got your payrolls by period, and then this calculation sheet will tell you what your expected losses are for each classification for the amount of payroll you have in that classification. And then we'll show your actual losses. So you can see on page 1, your 12-13 losses were $67,901, and that's valued as of January 1 of 2016. Your losses for 13-14 we're down to $15,530, and And then as you turn the page there, your losses for 14-15 were $817. There's a lot of counties that would really appreciate those kind of numbers. So once we get all of the loss information, the payroll information by classification entered into that, then this software program goes through an actuarial calculation to come up with how your premium needs to be modified to be more reflective of your experience. So once we run that through, then you can see at the bottom, you're at a 0.85. So that means you're 15 points below what would be considered average. That's a good thing. We've got several counties that are well over 1, got one that's at 1.28, and boy would they like to be in your spot right now, because you can see the difference between what you're paying and what they're paying based upon the loss service. So the best sheet to look at really is this page 3, and it's got the colored graphs on it. So let's look at the graph that has the 2 colors. You can see in your 12-13 year, when you were at about 58, not quite $60,000, you're still below your expected, which is the goldenrod color. And then your next year, you're way below. And then in your 14-15 year, it's just kind of a speck. At $817 doesn't really reflect anything for you. So you can see you're on a roll here. Now, if we want to look ahead to what's going to happen next year, we're going to lose this larger green column, and we're going to replace it. Right now, it's about $25,000 in losses. Sorry, Sue, I wrote on yours. I can get you a clean one if you want. I'm sorry. Anyway, you're about $25,000. So that is about half of what you're getting rid of. So again, we've got about a month, not quite a month left. So knock on wood, we just hope nothing happens between now and the end of the year. And we hope that none of those losses mature too awfully bad. But even if it comes up above 25,000, you've still got room there where you can see that 0.85 go down. And then what this green chart shows you is the effect that you can have on your mod. Now, unfortunately, because this is a software program that I purchased, I can't change the company to county like I'd like to. The other thing it doesn't let me do is reflect the premium discounts that you get from Heartland. So it says here your controllable mod is $38,000. Actually, you'd have to take about 30% off that. So your controllable mod's about $29,000. Again, that's money in your pocket when we can control that. We know you're going to have some losses, but the big thing that we're seeing is some great work coming out of secondary roads and out of your sheriff's department, where we're seeing those losses really limited. Because that's, for Heartland, that's where we see the bulk of our losses, or secondary roads and sheriff's office. So a big pat on the back to them for what they're doing with their employees. And then that last page is just another way to look at where you would be. Here's your current mod, your average mod, and your minimum. So you've got a pretty small controllable mod because your losses are so low. But that's kind of the quick way to go through your renewal. Do you have any questions at all? Any comments? We get a lot of positive comments about our claims folks at Creative Risk Solutions. They really stepped up and do a great job for us. But if you've got any issues, anything you want me to know about, let me know and we'll get it fixed for you. Heartland appreciates working with you, appreciates the partnership. It's been a long one, since 1987. And I've been here since 2000, I think it was, so been together a long time. Any questions?
I don't have anything. Sounds good.
Okay. And then the only thing we would need is for you to bind coverage to pass, to bind coverage.
Move to bind coverage.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Sign us for it.
Thank you. Sue? Or Judy?
So, thank you so much for your
You
time
won't be
today.
over here, right?
And we'll see you hopefully in September. We've got our employee seminar then, and look to have a good group of people coming to that.
All right.
And we'll give you copies for Joe. I'll stop for Joe in case. Anything else you need from me? Okay, thank you so much. Good to see you again. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Judy. Next item is a payroll change from the sheriff. They'd like to add Candy Tucker to the payroll for $11 an hour. Is there a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and supported. Add Candy Tucker to $11 an hour. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have two 2080 agreements that are probably renewals from what they've been other years with University Park and Fremont for law enforcement coverage. Have any questions? Sheriff's not here, but
The guy that dropped the one off from University Park said it was the same as last year.
Move to,
Second.
oh, go ahead. Move to approve both 2080 agreements.
okay. Motion made and seconded to approve the 2080 agreements with the Sheriff's Department with University Park and Fremont. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Law Enforcement Center updates. Sheriff couldn't be here, Jamie's here. What?
So the sheriff wants to see about doing some changes to the center itself to make it a little more efficient. As they serve the public, the picture I gave you there is the inside of the sheriff's office. They have the smaller window there is where people come up and ask their questions or do their paperwork, that type of stuff. They'd like to see about opening up the double window there on the left-hand side, putting a metal roll door in there, so they have more counter space to work with people. Right now, they're right around 1,000 gun permits so far this year. They're serving over 70 offenders that have to come in and register and change their address or add a vehicle and that type of stuff. And some of that's kind of private information. And if you've got 3 other people in line, they really don't have any place to go for that. So that's one of them. The other thing would be we have a west closet, is what we call it. It's on the west end of the building. It's currently 911 storage. We'd like to convert that into office space. And then the final part was adding 2 switches that serve the police department, the sheriff's office, and 911 for the shieldware. I think the total for everything, and I don't have the bids, the sheriff has all that in his office, and unfortunately I can't get in there, was right around $10,000. I know he's talked to Sue about the pot of funds that was put aside for updates and work that would need to be done to the center. And he'd like to see about taking that out of there.
I talked to Paul about all of the changes that he wanted to do. I don't have any issues with it. He said that he doesn't have it in his current year budget, but it could be taken out of that. I don't even remember what the name of the fund is, but it's, I think, for security, building security. I think it's actually courthouse security. But, the only thing procedurally, I guess, would be, I didn't know if we have to approve his or if he had the authority over that fund. I guess we were kind of
Yeah,
confused on that.
he wasn't sure on that. He thought he could just do it, but he wanted to run it up the flagpole and make sure that everybody was on board with it before he did it.
What's that fund? Was it excess money from the last sales tax when we built the law center?
So we have a fund that has money in it from the last lost, when it was on, to build the jail and law center, to upkeep and maintenance and different things for that. But you're also talking about courthouse security fund, so that's 2 different things.
I don't know what that one was. I just know there was the lost money that was put aside. Yeah, that was the only fund that I knew about.
So I don't have a problem with that fund. Just using that.
I guess I didn't know this was coming. I don't know. I like to get some. I just like to see the definite figures and what he's doing. I guess.
I know,
each. You want to improve it.
Each project, he has 3 bids to do it, and I don't know the exact number. I know it's less than $10,000. I can say that confidently. It's less than 10,000. I think it was 8 to 9 was what he was thinking. And I know Chief McGee did talk with, is my understanding, Chief McGee spoke with the city, since it is a partner type thing, and the city was fine with moving forward with using that money for that.
Well, I'll entertain a motion. If that's what you want to do, go for it.
I'll move to authorize funds from the law enforcement, local option sales tax fund.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to authorize funds out of the
What's
law
the name of the
enforcement
fund?
center fund.
Yeah.
It's got a name, maintenance fund. And for changes in the sheriff's office. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Dave? That's sensitive today.
The first that we had was when we sent the initial haul road agreement back to Dakota Access, they wouldn't sign it as it was. They felt it was too constricted for them. So they made some changes that myself, Lee County, and a couple other counties that are gonna be the first ones in line looked at. And we made some changes, sent it back, and then they made a few more changes and sent it back. But what they have is a signed copy of what they will accept, which is pretty much the way we had it, but with a little bit more, the language is a little less restrictive, but still does what we need it to do. And what they are requesting is that we go along and sign it so that we would have the haul road agreement in place for the project if it does come through.
And that's the one you sent us last
Yes.
week? Okay.
Are the other counties gonna approve it, or have they?
Lee County already has. Jasper's looking at it. I believe Jefferson is the same way. Keokuk has not sent anything back, and I believe Buffalo's the same.
And you recommend?
They're not going to sign it where they just don't feel that they can meet that, and it's unfair to them, and we still have enough control in there to get what we need done.
Okay. So to ask for a motion to approve this haul road agreement.
Make a motion.
Support. Motion made and seconded to sign the haul road agreement with Dakota Access as presented in this form. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carried.
At the last meeting, when you approved the contract for the bridge replacement on 305th Street, the performance bond hadn't showed up yet, but normally when you approve the contract, you approve the bond with it. So if you wanted to do that now, we could do it unless we need to do it differently.
I think it's just a matter of signature, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You want the principal?
Where the arrow, yeah.
Oh, the arrow down here. I'm sorry. Follow the arrows.
They have another project that they're looking, so they haven't really determined when they're going to start, but it will be probably after the 1st of July.
All right. Anything else?
We've got 4 patches that we're doing because the pavement's real bad in spots The one's on G7, there's 2 spots on G71, right east of the Des Moines River Bridge and just west of the railroad tracks. There's another one on T38, excuse me, west of Tainer, where the pavement is just crumbled and pieces of it are coming up, so we're gonna lay an overlay patch on it. And then the bridge over Buckley Creek on G5. We're gonna cover that because there's quite a bit of damage in the deck, and then the approaches are both real bad. So it makes it safe and stuff. Otherwise, we're gonna have pieces of concrete come up, and we, with motorcycles and vehicles on the road, we're trying to make it so nobody hits those. And they're supposed to get it done before the end of this fiscal year, so that's the plan right now. We also have a couple of bridges on G29 we're looking at as well. To try to get some of these so that we don't have, the biggest problem that we have like on a concrete road is it'll crack into small pieces and then it'll just pop up in the air and then people can hit it. So we're trying to get those places covered to keep the traffic, traveling public safe as much as we can.
Okay, thank you. Next item is accept petition requesting election for extension of local option sales tax.
Last Thursday morning was filed in our office a petition for the extension of the local option sales tax. It has the required number of signatures that needed, so this is a valid petition. You'll need to accept that.
Make a motion, we accept the petition requesting local option sales tax election.
Second, and then it sets in motion the procedural as far as what you need to do, but the next election is the November election.
Yes, the next available election would be November 8th.
Does that need to be part of the motion that we said for the date of the general election?
It's in the resolution, but yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's a motion and second to accept the petition. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is approve a resolution for the ballot language.
So I put this on here. I know we have some time to approve the ballot language, but obviously we've been talking about this for quite some time. So I figured we might as well have a discussion now, see if we can come to a consensus to approve the ballot language for the November election for the unincorporated area of the county. So I put this resolution together, and it's based on what we did before with a few notable changes. One of them is it's important that we define this as an extension of the local option sales tax, which should allow us to not lose any benefit of it next calendar year. So as long as we frame it as an extension, the Department of Revenue says we should be able to receive all of our portion. So that's one change. The other change is instead of the 40-40-20 split, it's 80% for roads and 20% for the Conservation Center at Caldwell. But other than that, it's similar to what we did before. And so my hope is that all of us can at least get behind this one and get some momentum out there to get this one approved, because if we don't approve this sales tax in November in the unincorporated area, they'll lose the benefit of that tax at least for some time. So I think it's important that we get this one out there and publicize it and hopefully get it approved in November. So I'll move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Just one comment, I guess, under the 20%. I guess I'd like to see maybe a little more of that 20%, maybe go toward a maintenance reserve for the conservation building, something similar to we have for the jail. I don't know if that could be factored in there somewhere.
Is Dave here?
So,
Yeah.
Dave, can you come up?
Morning.
Morning, Dave.
Just a question about Willie's question. Right now you guys have, how much money do you guys have cash on hand for the construction project?
That depends on the vote.
that are anticipated, not counting this?
Not counting that, is that counting the county farm money?
Yeah.
So we have probably 1.3 to 1.4 million.
Okay. And outside of that, you guys had about $600,000 to begin with, is that right?
Pardon?
Did you guys have about $600,000 to begin with before we sold the county farm?
We had about 600,000, and then through discussions previously, that money was going to be set aside for other projects or for displays in the building, not for the construction of the building.
Okay. Whenever we had talked before, there was going to be a little bit of a fund of about $100,000 left over.
Right.
By the time everything's said and done, would that still be the case under the current proposal?
I guess I'm confused on what you're asking.
Well, you had mentioned before that there was going to be about $100,000 left after the displays were built, after the building was built, that you guys could put away. as a
Possibly,
savings.
yes.
So
Depending on what
that's-
displays cost, what we're going to do, things like that.
Okay.
And we looked into the cost of the maintenance building, because of course, if we're gonna keep Russell open as a maintenance facility, we have 2 buildings operating. Talked to the construction manager, the architects, looked at what our current utility rates are, things like that, and it's gonna cost approximately $15,000 to $17,000 a year for the building, which is about 5% of our budget, increase over what we have in our budget right now. So that's what we've been trying to factor in, is a maintenance fee for the increased cost. Because Caldwell will just be administrative and education, and the maintenance stuff will stay out of Russell Wildlife.
Okay. Under the current proposal that Supervisor Vandermolen has put forward, includes any surplus of funds would be going back to roads maintenance. You'd still have enough money to put $100,000 aside for, you think, around that, for any building maintenance that needs to come up?
We could probably have the 100,000 for building maintenance, but that would be, that'd be fairly small. But, if we don't have the money for building maintenance, then we'd have to come and ask for, budget increases later on if we have to maintain the building.
Okay.
That's just, the reality of it.
Okay. All right. I don't have any more questions.
And the land acquisition and capital improvement fund, where we have that money in, Sue could probably answer this better than me, if the building maintenance is a proper use of the Fund 68 money, which is titled for land acquisition and capital improvement, is the building maintenance, is that an acceptable expenditure of that money?
I think we'd have to review the
Right.
code on that.
Because that's, that is something that reserve account, it is specified what the money can and can't be spent on, and that's what I just thought of right now, is we don't know if that's a legal expenditure.
Okay. So either way, you'd have to come back and ask for an increase in your.
In the Fund 1 money.
basically. Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
There's a motion on the floor.
So-
Motion made and seconded, so.
So that, I guess just to clarify my position in it, the local option sales tax, if there was money that was going to be continuing on beyond this, the scope of the 2036 date, I think there may be okay to use that for maintenance, but it's a one-time funding source for ongoing expenses. I don't think that's a wise use of money. So I'm going to support the motion as it reads.
What's the date?
It's a 20-year term, 20 goes through December 31, 2036, so.
No, the date we have to have this language. Another-
August.
August something, okay. Anyway. Okay, so my understanding is there's a motion and a second for this as presented, correct? Any other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carried, so that's taken care of.
Anything else you want here?
What else have I got here? Public comments? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Motion carried, we're adjourned.